So the big question is this: how are millennials like you and I, who refuse to accept the American dream template that the schools and our parents have tried to hand down to us, but looking to escape the rat race? How do we shift our mindset in life to reach success and find our happiness? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brandon Stover, and I'm an entrepreneur who is going from zero to success and sharing every one of my secrets along the way in order to inspire you to defy your odds. Welcome to the Hustle of Happiness podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Hustle and Happiness podcast. On today's show, I have an Alabama boy who went from high school dropout to soldier to competitive athlete and TV superstar. The man has competed in a whole catalog of fitness competitions, from Tough Mudders, CrossFit competitions, and Spartan events. He has appeared on the cover of Men's Health and was named the publication's Ultimate Guy in 2014. Sharing his story, he has been on numerous talk shows, including Ellen, Good Morning America, and Entertainment Tonight. In 2015, he even competed in Dancing with the Stars, taking third place even though he was not a born dancer. Not stopping his TV appearances there, he led and trained a team on the hit series American Grit, taking them to first place victory. But this was no easy path. Before the fame and success, he was a sergeant in the military during Operation Iraqi Freedom. On December 19, 2005, during his second tour, he hit an IED that sent his 9,000-pound armored Humvee flying through the air and leaving him in the hospital. To his surprise, he woke up 5 days later on Christmas Eve to severe injuries and loss of his arm and leg. After the accident, he soon slipped into depression and drinking, smoking, and sleeping his life away. To pull himself from this place, he turned to fitness and built a mentality of no excuses to get his life back on track. Since then, he has helped countless others through fitness, training, motivational speaking, publishing his book, Living with No Excuses, The Remarkable Rebirth of an American Soldier, and participating in acts of charity, including his own, the No Excuses Charitable Fund. Let me introduce an American hero who probably loves the Golden Girls as much as he does his country. I introduce Noah Galloway on the Hustle and Happiness podcast. Welcome, Noah. It's such an honor to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing real good.
Awesome. Well, let's get into your story and tell me about who you were before enlisting in the Army and why you joined up after 9/11.
Well, I was the kind of kid that, I worked a lot. I'm a high school dropout, and I went straight to work and did construction, did landscaping, worked in a plant. And then I decided to get my GED, and I scored real high, and they convinced me to go to college. So that was kind of a good turning point in my life, to go back to school, to go to college. But my first semester was when 9/11 happened. And that was enough for me to join the military. I never wanted to be in the military before, but when that happened, I was like, that's it, I'm going in. And that's how I ended up with the 101st.
Wow. So, you've seen this event happen and you're like, I want to give myself to a life of service. And then you wake up on Christmas Eve and you find that you've lost 2 limbs, having your military career that you just started out on come to a screeching halt. Tell us about that dark place of depression that you fell into after that and the struggles you were facing.
Yeah, it was my second deployment to Iraq. And at this point, the military had become a career to me. I didn't see myself doing anything else. So to wake up one day in the hospital, unaware of what had happened, and 2 of my limbs were gone. I had severe injuries to my one good leg, to my hand. My jaw was shattered, so my mouth was wired shut. I didn't know what I was going to do. I tell people all the time that losing an arm and a leg could send anybody into depression. But what a lot of people can relate to is if you have a vision of the future, no matter how strategic you are in reaching it, you have kind of an idea of where you want to go in life. Yeah. And then suddenly it's taken away. That's what I woke up to. And I didn't know where I was going in life. And that's where the depression just got worse and worse. And it was about 5 years of just struggling with trying to accept who I was and where I was going.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I think when people, even if it's not, losing a limb or anything, but seeing that vision come down and basically it's all of a sudden taken away just like that. It's
Oh yeah, it can. It happens. You see it in a lot of veterans. They get out even if they're not injured. Suddenly, they don't know where they're going. I'll tell you another people that relate to it. Look at a lot of NFL players.
mm-hmm.
You play football from 8 to you're 28 or 30 years old, and then you're retired. Money doesn't matter. They were used to doing as they had a job to do every week, and they practiced it in the off season. And suddenly, it's done. And that's a struggle for people because then you don't know where you're going in life. You don't have a purpose. And that's where all of us struggle. If we don't have a purpose in life, you don't know where you're going.
Absolutely. So I know your children are the utmost importance to you and were a big motivation for you to kick your depression. But what was that point of rock bottom that you decided, hey, I need to turn this around right now?
It was, I walked into my living room one day and my three kids were sitting on the couch. And I realized to my two boys, I'm showing them what a man is. And that's what they're going to become one day. And to my little girl, I'm showing her how a man's supposed to act. And that's what she's going to look for one day. And I was not what I wanted them to be or end up with. So that was a huge turning point. Now, I always tell people things didn't just change overnight. I still screwed up. I still made mistakes, but every time I fell flat on my face, it was a thought of my three kids or my motivation to get up and push a little harder, go a little further. So that's what I did. They're a huge motivation to me to this day to make sure I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's huge. When I was researching you and I've heard some of your other interviews and just how much care and love that you had for them and to have that one thing that basically drove you that whole time was amazing.
Yeah, because when it comes to kids, we can talk to them till we're blue in the face. They learn from what they see. We've learned from our parents that way. We don't remember what our parents told us. We
Yeah.
became our parents by what we saw. Because I see things in my parents all the time that I do. And no parents are perfect. And I take what my parents did right and I mimic those. And the things that I felt like I didn't agree with, well, I work on to improve, because no one's perfect. And I hope my kids do the same thing with me. I don't want them to learn my bad behaviors. I want
Right.
them to improve on those
Right.
because none of us are perfect. But I try my best to try to show them my best.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you have this mindset of no excuses that you share as a public speaker and a fitness coach. Tell us about how you use this to pull yourself out of depression.
Well, so it came down to, for a long time, lost my arm, my leg, I had every excuse not to do anything. And I decided, no, I'm not going to live that way. And I got back into fitness. Then I started running these obstacle course races, marathons, whatever it was going to be hard on me, missing an arm and a leg, that I wanted to go out and do. Um, as I was doing them, people started coming to me and saying that I was taking their excuses away. And that motivated me. And then to have people to this day, when I was doing Dancing with the Stars, I'm not a good dancer. I did not
Yeah.
enjoy it. But people started reaching out to me and saying that I was motivating them to step outside of their comfort zone, to do more things, to take risks. And that motivates show. So everything I do, I continue to do, one for my kids, two, because people reach out to me and say that I motivate them. And that's what drives me to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge when people can find something that they can look to and see like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it too. And they get this motivation to go out and actually not have the excuses to hold them back and go do what they want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we all have excuses. You don't have to lose an arm or a leg. And when it comes to fitness, I meet people all the time that, they may not have the genetics, they may battle with obesity or whatever it is. And I always tell them that that should be their reason to get into shape because they'll be more proud of what they've accomplished than someone who is genetically gifted and it's easy for them. Just like me, missing an arm and a leg, I was in the fitness before I got injured, but I have more pride in my fitness now that I'm injured than I did before because I am overcoming bigger obstacles.
Absolutely. Looking back at that struggle and seeing what you've accomplished, what you've overcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're, on this track to getting back in shape. You're competing in various fitness competitions. Did you run into any conflicts or like loss of motivation along the way? Any road bumps?
Oh, all the time. Even to this day, I love fitness, but it's easy to be like, well, I'm good. Like, do I have to keep doing this? But it boils down to how healthy I want to be and what an example I want to set before my kids. So you
Mhm.
have to kind of think beyond yourself to keep that motivation going. And just like the people that reach out to me, I'm not just doing it for me. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for other people. And that's what drives me to keep going. And everyone has that. You don't have to, been on a national television show or on the front cover of a world-known magazine. You could be just anybody out there, and someone looks up to you, a child, a nephew, a neighbor, whoever it is, a friend. Someone looks up to you. And that is why we always have to be doing our best in everything we do, because someone is always watching and they're learning from us.
How do you get other people to realize that, like to find their people that are looking at them, to find their why, to keep going and keep them motivated?
I'm not the kind of person that's, a jerk in your face or throwing it in their face that, hey, I did it, missed an arm and a leg. That's not motivating.
Right.
It's to find out what it is. Like if I meet somebody, I want to know what it is you struggle with, because we all have something. And then you work through that, because once you get over that hump, then the rest is easy. Because
Right.
that's that one, we all have that one obstacle in our life that holds us back. And once you address that obstacle, then you can take on the others. And so usually when I meet people, that's what I want to know first is, what is your biggest struggle? And then let's work through that.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So you have this pretty big, amazing list of achievements, but what do you think your biggest achievement so far has been?
Father, I know that sounds, maybe corny, but no, my children are much more of an importance in my life than any of the other things I've ever done. Like the other things are just stuff to brag about. My children are who I am. That is showing the relationship I have with them, and everything I do is showing who I am as a person, showing myself when I see them, how they act, what they do, how they push themselves. That is showing me what I've accomplished. I'm divorced, but I get along with their mom. It's
Hmm.
all about how we co-parent.
Right.
Everything we do is about discussing things. We agree on some things, we disagree on others, and we talk about it. And the kids see that. The kids see that we get along, that we talk, good and bad. They know
Yeah.
that if they get in trouble at one house, I'm gonna know about it, and vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they know that when they do something good, we talk about it. So I think my biggest accomplishment is just the relationship I have with my children.
Yeah, I think there's a line by Jim Carrey. He talks about he wishes that everybody would get rich and famous so that they would realize that it's not all that there is. And basically
No,
having that thing that you always look back to, and for you being your kids and spending that life with them and teaching them everything they can and showing them what a real man is. And I think that's just really awesome.
yeah, I mean it is. It's way more important than any money or attention will ever give you. I mean, yeah, we all would love to have an abundance of money, or some of us like attention, like myself, but it's not a priority. It is not a priority at all in my life.
Absolutely. So obviously the transformation that you've had as a person is pretty undeniable. But I think the most amazing thing about you is that no matter what your goals were or what you were achieving, you have always had that set core of values that you have, like an inner why to your life. And one of my favorite stories of yours is the story about when you were doing the disaster relief work after the tornado struck, and you had basically
Mm-hmm.
dropped a hammer and were freaking out about it. And so I was wondering if you could share that story, because I think it really talks to your character the most.
So the backstory was, yeah, we had a whole bunch of tornadoes that came through Alabama, and I that was the first time I did any manual labor since my injury. I'd gotten back to this, and I every time I showed up to volunteer, I thought they were going to put me with a group that was taking donations, but no one questioned me. I
Yeah.
went out and I was carrying logs, I was cutting down things, and then I was at a house. It was about to start raining, and this guy's roof was gone. The whole side of his house gone, fallen over, two-story house, bricks, everything in the yard. You couldn't walk through it. I'm on the roof. We're trying to nail down tarps before the rain came, and he had given me a hammer, and I'm hammering, and the hammer just flies off into the rubble. I'm thinking, okay, it was a hammer. I can't believe I dropped it. I was more embarrassed than anything. And then that guy was like, that was my dad's, before he passed away. And then he tried to brush it off like, well, it's okay. It's just a hammer. It's just a hammer. But I could see in his eyes that wasn't just a hammer. That was his dad's hammer. And he obviously had a close relationship with him or whatever it was. And I went walking through that rubble. I mean, nobody wanted me to go out there. It was hard. With one leg, two
Right.
legs, it would have been hard. I wanted to find that hammer. And then they were like, Noah, get out of there. You're going to – because, I mean, you could step on anything. It didn't matter one leg or anything. It shouldn't have been walking out there. And I looked, and there's a bush sitting there, and hanging in the bush was that hammer. And I was so relieved because I knew that hammer meant something to him. And I did not want to admit it at that time, how important it was. Because when he kind of said it was his dad, he kind of brushed it off and tried to act like it wasn't that big a deal. But when I found the hammer and gave it to him, he was so relieved. He didn't want to admit to me how much that meant to him because he thought, well, it's gone. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad I found it because we all have that one little thing that's important. And you don't want to be the person that threw it away.
Right.
Lost it in the rubble. So I was really glad I found that hammer.
Yeah, I think that's so big. I mean, just sticking to your core values and really, I mean, something as simple as a hammer, like you knew it meant a lot to that guy. And so basically going out and finding that, even though it obviously wasn't the best idea to go and try and look for a hammer, and it speaks so much to who you are as a person.
No, I appreciate that. I just didn't want to. I knew it was important to him, and we all, like I said, we all have something that's important to us, and I know that feeling. So I'm so glad I found it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I get to my last question, where can people find you online?
So I'm on also Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can go to noahgalloway.com, and there's a link to all my social media. But on Instagram, Noah Galloway Athlete. Instagram is Noah_Galloway. There's another Noah Galloway out there, which is a really cool kid. He has actually directed people my way. He's really nice. I follow him on Twitter. He follows me. I think he may have graduated by now, but it's funny because people accidentally went to him and he's directed them to me. So I thought that's been really cool. And then on Facebook, Noah Galloway Athlete. But at noahgalloway.com, you can find all my social media. And I love to post about my kids, my dog, my cat, my races, everything I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, what do you believe is the one biggest mindset shift people need to have to be successful?
I have to have, we're talking about core values. You have to, whatever you believe in, you have to stick by. You can't just say, well, I believe in this and it come and go. Now, you have to have something you truly believe in and stick by it. My kids are my number one priority. And I've turned down a lot of things because I knew it wasn't what I wanted, wasn't a lesson I wanted to teach them or do it. No, it wasn't going to affect them a positive way. So I've turned it down. I've done that in the past when I had nothing. And now that things are going much better, I still turn things down. And that is now what that corporations, whatever, call me to come and speak, whatever it is, they know that when I speak, I am speaking from the heart and truthful. And that is because I stay true to who I am. And you have to do that. You have to find what it is you believe in and stick by it and remind yourself, because it's easy to forget. I have to remind myself, it's easy to get distracted and want to do other things and say, no, let me reel it back in. And so I think the number one thing is to have your core values and stick by them, whatever they are, whatever it is. We all have different things. But I think that is what makes success. I see other people, I've hung out with people of different genres, whether they're musicians, actors, whatever, and those that are successful stuck by what they're doing, ups and downs. Sometimes it plays out well. Sometimes that takes time. So it's all about sticking to who you are.
Awesome. That is so great. Guys, I would definitely check out Noah Galloway as a wonderful role model to show you what it means to live by your core values, and just dig into who he is as a person. And you will see that through everything that he does, he lives by who he is and tries to show that with everybody and motivate everyone else to do the same thing. So thank you so much for being on the show, Noah. And it was great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the behind-the-scenes look at our entrepreneur's journey. If you want to get more secrets to becoming an entrepreneur and pursuing your happiness, then visit www.hustleandhappiness.com. Join us again next time, and remember, you are just one decision away from your happiness.